Hello and welcome to Bloomberg UTV. Here we are in the run-up to the presentation of Union Budget 2012-13, looking at the taxation front. When we start talking taxes, we get these palpitations in our heart, but not these fine gentlemen sitting before us. Sunil Kapadia, tax leader at EY, joins us. Also, certified financial planner Ganesh Shanbag, and we have chartered accountant Vinay Singh joining us on the show as well. Right now, growth is taking a dip. We have inflation worries not completely behind us. How does the government actually try and put more money in the hands of consumers, of people like you and me? That's what we're here to ask. Sunil, what are your thoughts?
Definitely, whether they can do or not, I think they should do it. And I know that there would be severe constraints of how much it can be done, but I would like to believe that it should be doing something. 2 or 3 key reasons. We have inflation at 8-9% now. It had gone up quite high. The savings rate is falling. The investment rate from the large Indian population, the earning population, is falling. So I think it will definitely do good both for the domestic consumption in the economy, as well as from a more efficient use of capital to leave some more money in the hands of the individual taxpayers. And the best way to put that money is through better rationalization and reduction in the tax rates for personal taxes.
Yes, absolutely. So in terms of, raising of the tax slabs, because that's one way that they can put more money in the hands of consumers. Do you think that's a thought that the government has right now, Ganesh?
I think they should be doing something on those lines, because that will ultimately trigger the economic growth. So ultimately, if the money is there in the system, then automatically gets spent, and then the economic growth actually happens. But I think somewhere also they need to increase the base that is already there, because we're only running after the people who are just paying taxes. So probably they should do something where they can incentivize and try and get everybody into the tax net. Because the base increases, automatically the revenue to the government will automatically increase.
Sure. But do you think that is going to bring down for the taxpayers currently the amount of taxes that they are paying? If you get more people into the tax net, like Ganesh is pointing out.
It does take the pressure off the government, but I would like to add one thing. See, like for capital gains, we have a cost inflation index. We could have the same thing for your income slabs. So we don't need to wait for a few years and then suddenly jerk that slab. You index it to inflation. As inflation goes up, your tax exemption limit goes up. So I think something like that would be much more equitable, and people would really like something like that.
So what kind of tax slabs are you expecting, Sunil?
So I think there has to be an increase in the minimum exemption limit from about 180,000, which is there. I know that we read about 3 lakhs as one figure.
That's being talked about.
And I think the latest figure which is doing around is 5 lakhs, when I don't expect it to go to 5 lakhs in any case.
Because the government can't afford to do that?
Absolutely.
But you think it should go up all the way?
It should go up, as Vinay just rightly pointed out, because it's been a while that we are sitting with this 180,000 rupees, and especially the largest taxpayer base would be in the bracket of 180 to 10 lakhs kind of a slab, where in fact after 5 lakhs the tax rate that really kicks in is almost 20%. So I think it would definitely do good if it becomes 3 lakhs, and after 3 lakhs to about 10 lakhs if you are in the 10% bracket, and thereafter kick in the 20% bracket up to 15 lakhs, and let above 15 lakhs only get taxed at 30%.
Right. As a chartered accountant, do you agree with the kind of slabs he suggested?
Oh yes, definitely.
Yeah. And Ganesh?
I think it's wishful thinking.
It's wishful thinking. You don't think
honestly, I don't think the government might do something so radically different in this budget immediately. I don't think so.
Why? What reservations do you have in
No, I don't think
that they can?
It's nice that they should increase it, but I don't think they will just improve it, because what will happen is they also need the revenue. So by just increasing these slabs, the lower end of the slab goes out. I think more and more people should be a part of that tax net. Then automatically, then you increase the slab, that's fine. But if you're just going to give a leeway, then automatically revenues are going to drop. So there's going to be a pressure on revenue to the government.
Sure. But putting more money into the hands of consumers is just one side of it. How they end up spending it as well is going to be a matter of concern for the government going ahead from here, which is looking at growth coming back on track. So domestic market needs to come up. Growth needs to grow through that kind of route. But is it going to happen or not? Because with that extra money in the pocket, you can either go and buy a fresh TV set, an upgraded one. you can go and get yourself an SUV that you've been dreaming about. But really, would you like to actually do away with the debt that you have standing in the books as well, as far as your personal portfolio is concerned? So how do you get the government within the budget to show the direction on, how do you get to spend? Ganesh?
It's difficult because individuals, whatever government lays guidelines also, individuals behave in a manner in which they would like to spend. So it's very difficult to tell them that, you need to clear off your debt, be zero debt and then go and buy your SUV. That's not going to happen. That might happen with people above 45 who are more, rational in their thinking and their investment attitude. But the younger generation typically wants to have everything yesterday, not tomorrow. So it's going to be difficult.
But incentivize them, no? Sonia, wouldn't you agree?
No, I think we should do that. Somewhere we should be doing that, I think.
How do you incentivize them? Because yes, we've talked about the infrastructure bonds, which was great, 20,000 rupees. But do you see that limit going up? Because it has worked so far. You agree with that?
Yeah, I think so.
So then, can we expect more?
So yeah, you could look at 2 or 3 things. One is, for example, people do dream even at a very young age of 25, 30 years to have a small house at least.
Right.
So increase the interest payment on housing loans from 150,000, which is the current limit, to about 3 lakhs. It will definitely leave more money in his hands.
Right.
Because if that amount gets knocked out of his taxable income, he will definitely save some tax.
Right.
So part of the money...
Right. So you're saying more money should be routed towards private companies and not PSUs, essentially, if that's what I do understand.
Not necessarily
No?
only private, because today you even have government as a big businessman in some sectors.
Sure.
So for example, if someone were to buy, were to liquidate a bank borrowing or is paying interest to the bank, a PSU bank is also paying tax at the end
Right.
of the day. So it also goes back to the government in some sense.
Right.
While getting routed through PSU banks
Right.
also.
Vinay, what do you think as in terms of incentivizing people to be able to put in, in the nation building kind of exercise right now, because that's what the country requires when you talk about infrastructure for one. Do you think that's an area that the government can do more on?
Oh yes, there's always a lot that you can do, and once you structure the laws in such a way that there's a clear indication that this is what you want to focus on, I'm sure people would follow it. There are people who like to spend, but I think there are a lot of people who like to save as well.
Also, under current rules, investments up to 1 lakh in specified schemes as far as, eligibility for tax rebate under Section 80C of the income tax. These schemes include various post office schemes that we talk about and often advise to our consumers, life insurance, equity-linked savings schemes. Can the government really raise the bound, the 80C exemption limit, you think?
Yes, I think more can be done and should be done, because if we are talking about putting more money in the hands of the average Indian, then that's one way of doing it.
Right.
So, like Sunil suggested, you raise the interest deduction, for example, from 1.5 to 3. You could raise these limits also. They have been at that 1 lakh level for some time.
Right.
So you could definitely look at raising those.
And of course, as far as putting in more money in the hands of consumers is concerned, how much of an impact is that going to have in the new direct tax code? That's something we're discussing after taking a very... All right, here we are talking about the budget 2012-13, and of course we're looking at the personal taxation front. Now, as far as the new direct tax code is concerned, what can we expect? Can we expect it to come through first, Sunil?
No, I don't think we can expect it in April 12 at least. The last report says that even the panel who was supposed to meet on 17th of Feb and submit its report has now decided, I think,
Yeah,
the
they pushed
report
the
will come
date back.
only on the 2nd of March. So
That's
I don't
right.
think there is any time for that, one. I think we should definitely aim for April 13 because there's a lot of work which has already been done on the direct tax code.
Right.
There are a lot of comments, suggestions from various stakeholders which have already come to the government earlier, as well as have come through the panel. And I
Right.
think that it's definitely a good way to sort of bring in a new tax code. Just do away with all
Do
our
away with the old.
do
and
away
bring
with
in
the old
new.
and start with the new.
Yeah, but they're
first-
talking about simplicity as one key reason why we should have the direct tax code. You agree with that one line of thought? What are the implications on the personal tax front, at least?
I think change is imminent and it is good because it will make life more simpler for sure for the average investor. Things will be more streamlined. And expectation is as the limits also increase, it will be an advantage for the investor automatically.
Right, but you're seeing problems on the capital gains front, as we were discussing a while earlier. Tell us exactly how we are going to get impacted.
Well, one of the proposals in the DTC is that if you're going to sell a house and if you are owning more than one house on the date of sale, you're not going to be able to get any rollover benefit like you have today under Section 54. So that's going to be a little bit of a problem for quite a few people who own more than one house.
Right.
So
and there are quite a few people out there who own more than one.
There are plenty of them.
Yeah.
So that is one negative that I can see as far as capital gains is concerned. The other thing is even in case you've acquired a house by way of gift, etc. The period that the earlier person held it is largely now we can say that the indexation benefit is available to you.
Right.
But that the DTC says very clearly will not be available to you now.
Sure.
So these are a couple of problems. At the same time, you do have the date shifting from 1/4/81 to 1/4/2000. So that's good.
Right. In terms of activity on the stock market, Sunil, you think capital gains is going to have an impact in terms of the new direct tax code?
Not much, because I think the DTC also wants to continue with the regime of long-term capital gains exemption,
Right.
and only wants to tax really the short-term capital gains.
Sure.
Just one aspect again on the stock exchange or outside the stock exchange in terms of securities transaction is buyback, which happens outside the stock exchange.
Right, yes.
So the current tax is 20%, of course, with an indexation benefit.
Yes.
Somewhere if one were to sort of bring it on par with a long-term capital gain exemption which is there when you go and sell on a stock exchange, that would do a lot more good to the individual investor, because he'll have a little more money. And of course, I do understand that in a long-term capital gain scenario, there is a securities transaction tax which goes to the government, but if one can really find some kind of a mechanism to collect that kind of a tax from the company itself.
Right, right. What's your vision as far as the new direct tax code is concerned? Do you think that, the way we are looking at personal taxation right now, and as far as fixed deposits are concerned, because the kind of advice that you give to your customers too, when a lock-in period, and this is something that the government is mulling over to be able to bring down the lock-in period of fixed deposits from 5 years to 3 years under the deductible kind of range. So do you think that's a good thing? And putting in money in fixed deposits, it's not the traditional route to kind of make money. And, what does it mean for people who've seen these interest rates come down in the recent past and want to stick with fixed deposits?
Yeah, I think going forward, if that happens, it's very good. But we need to live with that fact that if interest rates are going to come down further, we yet need to live with that thought.
Right.
But yeah, if the lock-in period is being reduced from 5 years to 3 years, it's a welcome move.
Right.
And the investor will really like that.
But this goes against the grain of the direct tax code, which of course wants to incentivize only long-term kind of investments, doesn't it?
Yeah, but probably, it could be that, typically a senior citizen who has to save tax is not very comfortable with a 5-year plan.
Right.
Whereas probably a 3-year might be a more comforting zone for somebody who's a senior guy,
Right.
who's yet avoiding tax by investing that amount. So
Right. Right. You agree with that? Of course, this is going to come in contention with several other kind of investments like our PPFs, like our EPFs, yes? There is the equity-linked saving schemes as well. So does a fixed deposit then become a worthy contender against all these other products too?
As he said, people who are looking at saving tax, it's a good instrument, and if you're reducing the period, that's always nice.
Right.
Because the longer the lock-in, it's not, it doesn't give people too much comfort.
You're saying right, because this is a problem area. Vinay, not for you, because I know that you have your daughter who's gone on scholarship, so you didn't have to worry about that. But I'm sure for many others, it is a matter of concern for higher education, for graduation courses, yes?
It is. If you look at the costs of even, early schooling now with IB and those kind of schools coming in, the costs are really going through the roof. We already do have deductions on interest on educational loans. But a deduction for EMIs would really ease up the situation, I feel personally.
Is it?
Yes, definitely.
Right. So that's something that we can look forward to, perhaps. I mean, this is a route of channelizing our thoughts as far as, and that's an area that the government really needs to work on. When it comes to creating your ITIs, that's one thing, but to be able to incentivize, to create employability also, especially in urban areas where we understand the need is lacking. When it comes to healthcare, again, something that is a problem area, you need to be able to raise the bar. 15,000 is the limit that we have. You see anything being done on that count?
I've not heard anywhere anything being sort of talked about on this point. But yes, definitely I think from 15 to 30,000 is absolutely required, because I think even this 15,000 would have been set as a limit some 5-7 years back, and you know, we all know what kind of expenses one has to really incur. I think a related point is also the 5 lakh limit that is there in your Mediclaim policies.
Right.
I think there is a definite need to even increase that limit. I know that there are some companies who are being able to offer those higher limits, but by and large I think that 5 lakhs is an upper limit in a Mediclaim policy.
Right.
So even if it means paying more premium, I think it's definitely worth, you know, from a pure health care perspective, at the end of the day, you really need a healthy population, I think, in the country.
And the cost of healthcare is going up as well, Ganesh, you agree?
What I would add over here is, I wish they could have a new section for critical illness benefit. There's a critical illness rider available, which was not available in the country 3 years back, where you can, the premium paid can be used for any of the 6 major critical illnesses, which most people in metropolitan cities are going to face. If we can have that, because there the premiums typically are more, this is over and above Mediclaim. So you could actually have a critical illness policy over and above Mediclaim. So if something can be done on the critical illness front, I think that would be a great welcome move.
What's your view on healthcare and how it stands right now? Because 15,000, like Sunil is pointing out, very limited in nature.
Yes, it is, and I think there are some little tinkering, like for example, the reimbursement of expenses for salaried employees is proposed to be moved from 15 to 50. This also will get bunched up with other things like you know, a couple of other deductions, but it's too less. The costs have gone absolutely through the roof, and you'll have to figure out some way of, you know, dramatically increasing the amount of cover that a person can take.
The other issue is, of course, rental income, something that you track very closely. Now with the new DTC coming in, as and when it does, that's going to take a hit of some sort as well?
There's a provision which essentially is a kind of an anti-evasion device, that if you are going to let out a property for 12 years and you are going to, if you receive any deposit or any advances, then there's a proposal to tax that as your income in the year of receipt itself. So while it is something which the objective is laudable, but it can land up quite a few innocent people into trouble. Specifically, if you look at, you know, when people sign up with banks, you're giving out your premises to a large corporate, then you tend to go in for longer term agreements. So that is where you'll have to now be very careful, otherwise you'll end up with a lot of tax liability.
Fair enough. Now, just to be able to sum up what we have been talking about on the personal taxation front, if there was that one issue that comes to mind that you think the finance minister should highlight and show the way, if not directly but indirectly, what would that be? Vinay, what would be on your wish list if you had to talk to the finance minister and say, this needs to be done?
Well, there are 3-4 things actually. Healthcare is one, education is one, infra is one. But I would say still that if we focus on the housing, if there's one thing, if you ask me, then the housing itself is a very important area, because the multiplier effect is very large. So that is something where we need to really take care of the common man's needs. There is no affordable housing left as of today. So we are talking about affordable housing, but it doesn't exist. So some serious concerted effort needs to be made there to provide you know, incentives for builders to make affordable housing, make it easier for people to buy houses. So I think that focus is critical in my opinion.
That's right. It's going to be interesting to see how the government actually moves around this to be able to incentivize consumers into putting in the money that is into nation building kind of exercises, and of course to be help their own cause in the process as well. Thank you so